Hey, what's up? National Conference of Undergraduate Research. For some context, the day before yesterday, or yesterday, no, yesterday, yeah, yesterday, sorry. My whole timeline is just messed up in terms of like when I do my events. But yesterday, I did the National Conference of Undergraduate Research presentation. It went great, thank the Lord. And I'm honestly so glad I got to do the Spring Research Conference fair a couple weeks prior because initially I hadn't planned to do it because I didn't know if I hadn't got that much information. I just got like an acceptance thing. I was like, oh yeah, you can come do this thing. I thought I was gonna get a follow-up email because that's what the National Conference of Undergraduate Research did. I'm just gonna try and call it NCUR because that's like the abbreviation. But I didn't get enough for the Spring Research Fair, so I wasn't trying to go and do that. I talked to my mom. I was like, okay, you know what? Let me just do it. Went there. Presented my research, like made my research post like in a day or two, and then presented it, and it wasn't that great. I presented to like maybe 3 people, 4 people, and it was cool, got the idea across. But like from that, I knew I needed to improve. Right by the time of the National Conference of Undergraduate Research, I can definitely tell you there was a lot of improvement stemmed from that presentation, the Spring Research Fair, and it was really amazing. I presented to so many people. I felt like so good, cause like I wish I didn't think I was going to present to that many people. I thought it was going to be a small thing. I thought it was going to be like, like maybe someone stops by and asks me a question. Like, so many people stopping by. I think there's two aspects to it. One is definitely size. I don't remember the exact size of my original poster, but I do, original being the one in the Spring Research Fair, but I do know this one was like 48 by 38 something, right? And I think size plays a big role in how much attention you get. In these conferences because a lot of people just walk. Like I was walking by, I saw a lot of co-research posters, but like as I'm walking by, it's a big crowd in the rows. If you think it's small, it's hard for me to read it. I might just not read it. If you have like interesting graphics or just interesting data just right off the bat, then it's not going to be something that draws my attention. I think that played a big role. Even though that took a big chunk out of my wallet, I think it was worth it. It was like I think $70 to $80 to get the poster printed, which I think is crazy. I think I'm going to talk about this more, primarily in our LinkedIn post. I know that sounds weird, but I think that's something I want to work to do as I continue in this field. Is that I want to make research more accessible. I know with the internet, the research can like easily be more accessible. Like opportunities like this do cost money. I just want to be a part of making people. I think so many people are. We know what science is like. We first science, like we present within our daily life. But like so many people are so, I guess, abstracted from that. In the way I want to try and get people into that path and show them what it's like, because it is very fun. Like I remember with this research poster, before I was going to present, I was looking at just making sure everything was okay. Cause I had to, like it cost money to print this thing. Then I was like, oh dang! I was looking at this graphic because this data was put a pivotal role in how I was going to explain the poster. Then I was like, it seems a bit off. Let me see. Let me backtrack on where I got that graphic from. And I backtracked, and I have no idea where I got the graphic from. I know the source I got it from, but the data was just wrong, right? And I had to change my whole. I had to find a new research paper to. I had to do more research. I found a better research paper that kind of I don't want to say told a narrative because I don't know if you're meant to tell a narrative when it comes to research, but I think it presented a better picture of the research as a whole and give more context. And just for I'm going to try and put a picture up for the post, the correlating post on Instagram for the poster. So if you want to check, you can go see that, and maybe it'll be the thumbnail of this video. But for this, the graphic, the data visualization I used was basically this tree diagram. I don't even remember what the data visualization, what the official term is, but it's basically about how people use ChatGPT when it came to their essays. And a lot of them actually surprisingly didn't just use it to write the whole essay. They rather used it more so for reviewing and planning, which was really interesting. I think that gave it pushed you right into the mind of these kids because I think a lot of people do have good intent. A lot of people want to get be better writers or get better scores. So I think that kind of give a better story or a better picture for the research. In terms of presentation, I think that's something I'm really happy about. I spoke fluently. I know I'm not doing that right now, but I think I spoke pretty fluently. I was able to answer questions. I remember I talked about this in like a couple episodes prior to the presentation. I was like, I don't want someone to ask me a question, and I'll say that I'll say the scope of my research. For every question they asked, I had done enough to at least go into it. I think there were portions where they asked me questions. I was like, oh, that's something, because I'm really interested in AI. I tried to keep up to date with it, just the foundations and the progressions of the technology. And some of the questions didn't necessarily, the knowledge I had to answer to with didn't stem from my research, but rather just my experience in keeping up with the field, which was really awesome to see that come full circle. But it was a fun time. It was a very fun time. I got to see a bunch of cool research posters. There was one that I thought was interesting, was about using AI in 911 calls. And the idea was just to kind of augment the process. I do wonder how much technology goes behind it, because there was a portion of the research paper where they proposed the idea of in natural disasters, they would create a heat map of where the calls were coming from. I felt like that's something that should be or is already implemented in the technology. I was excited. I do think it's going to, like, if that was to happen, or I guess when it does happen, I do think there's going to be a lot of issues with it. Just right off the bat, with like especially natural language processing, is one I already think there might be issues. Like if someone is using a certain dialect and the AI just can't fully understand them, it might change the whole how the process works for them. There's also the idea that was proposed in the paper of like the prioritization of different calls. And I do wonder how they do it in police stations. Like if AI has to do it, how reliable would that be? Is that kind of just like a scapegoat? I think that's something you have to really consider when you implement these AI technologies in such critical infrastructures. I guess is AI the scapegoat for malpractice, I guess, or just ignorance? So, like for example, if AI is just biased towards a group of people, so like maybe if you're in a white neighborhood or a predominantly white upper class neighborhood and that place gets more calls, maybe the AI thinks, okay, that's what we should prioritize because that's what the training data has told it. So stuff like that I thought was interesting. But back to my research, it was amazing. Definitely could still improve. I think I won't go deeper into the topic. But I think what you want to, like, I know I have my future research portion of the paper, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go and see how I can further improve these hybrid solutions I propose in my research. But I also want to go more into the digital divide of how AI being implemented in technology. I think it's something that we haven't really considered yet. Because imagine this, I think I talked about this a couple episodes ago. I feel like if you're watching this, you may not necessarily watch those episodes because like there's 600 plus episodes of this project. So if I'm being honest, I don't think you will, unless you're doing like a marathon, which would be really amazing. But picture this, you have one kid who has all this fancy technology. Student A, he's in a predominantly upper class neighborhood, private school, all of that, right? Has all this technology, has iPads in his school, the thing about doing laptops, all of that amazing stuff. And that was kind of my, I went to Good Counsel High School, so it's a private high school. We had iPads, they even had having the conversation of implementing laptops and maybe switching that, right? You have that situation, student A. Now you have student B. They might not even have like proper books in their school. There's not even a conversation of iPads or laptops because like they even have the money for that. Like the basic necessities they're still struggling with, right? So on student A and student B, right? Like imagine the different outcomes of these students already. Not even considering AI. This student has internet. This student has better opportunities and all of that compared to the student who can't even use the internet and get the experience they need for certain jobs. Now add AI to that equation, and then now you see that student A can go home, teach themselves concepts compared to student B who wouldn't be able to do such things. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see that digital divide. And I want to kind of do research into that to see if, I don't know, to see if there's a way to kind of mitigate that or prevent that in some sense. I've talked about this a bit, but there's a school of thought of the trickle-down effects of technology. So as technology advances, previously top-tier technology or the state-of-the-art technology becomes more common in households. I wonder how fast that will take. Because like right now, ChatGPT I think is a good teacher assistant, right? So at that level, like, what in how many years do you think we're going to get to a point where like every school in America has access to like devices and internet and all of that? Then there's also another aspect you have to consider of like a lot of people have great resources, but how many people actually utilize them utilize them to their potential. So that's another thing. Maybe that will like reduce the gap, at least how I envision it in my head. But that's something I want. That's why I kind of want to go with this research. I know that's a bit less technical, but I do think it's something to look into, because I don't want it to be a case of where we're helping a bunch of people, but then there's so many people being left out, and in that case, it's like maybe doing more harm than good. But yeah, I think it was cool. It was amazing just being in a research environment. This is a funny story, but I got to meet this one person who came to my presentation, and I was talking with her. And then since I came here as an independent person, just because this research really stems from an English paper that was a research paper, and my teacher said, "Hey, submit this here." I was like, "Okay," and I submitted it. So I'm like an independent guy, no lab or anything like that. So I was talking to this one girl, and I met her friends. I hung out with her friends and all of that, and really cool friends, really cool person, right? Really cool person. And then her friend. And her other friend, one of her friends was, I think she liked this guy, and then I think he's like a PhD student, he's working on his PhD, and apparently, like, he started, like, flexing his papers, right, he kept on emphasizing how, like, he was doing, working on publishing his papers, so how he's published so many papers, and then one of her guy friends said, like, oh, he's probably trying to impress you. I just thought that was really interesting, that in the research world, people, like, use, published papers to kind of like flirt. I think that's something that I've never considered. I think it's very nerdy. I guess it could work, because I guess in that world you're so zoomed in into the academics of it and just like the prestige. So maybe that's something people actually do. I think that's really funny to me. But yeah, I really love this. I really love the research aspect. Even though I say that, I think my mom thinks I'm going to go in like straight to get my PhD. I think I want to go into the career, the private sector first. I actually think I want to go more into the startup side of stuff, kind of build and break stuff. But I also want to do a lot of research and development. I think startups are a really good way to do that. I think they can provide a very interesting incentive to that, both in the terms of gain and in terms of loss. Like, you don't want to lose out on an opportunity, that you also want to gain a lot from your startup, and in terms of impact and obviously financial gains and all of that. So maybe we'll see. I don't know the route I'm going to take, but I just know I'm going to do awesome in it. Amen. Dang. Honestly, I feel like one thing I do hope, I think I'm going to do this for someone else again, but I hope someone just takes all the quotes I've ever said and just like compiles them, because I feel like back when I was younger, I used to always look for all these celebrity quotes by Albert Einstein and all of that. But I think this is maybe my most narcissistic opinion, but I think I have a good number of really amazing quotes that like should be used in the future for like all these motivational videos. Like when they edit something, just have like a portion of me like saying this quote or whatever. But let me not drag this on. I think the National Conference of Undergraduate Research was an amazing opportunity that I'm really blessed to have been able to take. I'm really grateful to my professor, Miss Whitpiff. She's really amazing. English teacher. And I'm excited. I think this is some amazing technology. I feel really stupid because I just realized I never said the topic of my research for those who don't know. And I guess it's a bit late in the video to say that, but I'll say it anyways. Exploring AI's potential and predictive analysis for essay scoring, as well as giving real-time feedback. And just to add some additional context, it goes into how can students, as they write the essays, improve as writers through real-time feedback with an AI system, as well as how can teachers use AI to maybe even replace the grading process or augment it. And just as a spoiler, it's more so the proposed solution I give is more so an augmentation of the research process, but it could lead to an automation of it. Whereas in students, I think that's where, just look at the research. If you're watching this and it's like maybe a couple years in the future or a couple months, and you really have questions about it and you want to talk to me about it, just on any social media or any contact you have of mine, just do it. I would love to talk about the research. Oh my days. I feel like all those people who do research who like to talk about the research now. But yeah, just if you have a question, I don't know all that too much about it, but I think it's really interesting. I think I can share my thoughts. I can point people in like where I think is really important. And yeah, I think it's a cool space. And just as a last thing, I know I touched on this before in like a prior episode, but I think one of my favorite parts about this whole research process is finding about the word quadratic weighted kappa. It's in reference to, or it measures how similar one thing is to another, I believe. And in terms of the ASAP data, or in terms of my research, it was for the ASAP data, which is like this data with a bunch of essays with human scores, giving like a score for them. And we used the quadratic weighted kappa to measure how similar AI scoring is to human scoring. I just think the word kappa is funny because like I don't even remember the names of the characters, but more like the green turtle guys. I just like in my head when I hear kappa, I think of them. So I always found that so fun. But yeah, quadratic weighted kappa, really fun word. But yeah, takeaways. If you want to do research, do it. If you don't want to do research, do it. Look out for this AI stuff, or just look out for emerging technologies or just anything interesting. Just jump in there. Just always learn. Always, always, always learn. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say. So besides that, I have nothing else to say. So have a great day.